أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us once again on our program, My Journey Through Islam. Now today's guest is Yusuf Joaquim Rosado. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, it was a good effort.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Like with all of our guests, we like to start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today, I guess.
Well, I came from Portugal. I arrived in England almost 1 year and a half. My journey through religion itself started when I was 7 years old. My grandma used to take me and my sister to these gatherings of Jehovah's Witnesses. But for me, at that age, it wasn't too meaning. It didn't have too much meaning. And that's where we spent our summer holidays. It's in my youth, religion started to calling me out because I always had some sort of critical thinking
and inquisitive mind.
Yes, and I looked into society and the establishment, the status quo, and as it seems, it is not fair. There's no justice, and I always see these politicians, and there's no justice whatsoever. And
so that's where your journey started. So were you from a religious background yourself? Your family religious? Were you practicing, for example, you did go to the Jehovah's Witnesses groups. You were from a religious family or not really?
No, I was baptized Christian when I was a little baby.
Yeah.
But I never was introduced to Christianity itself.
Okay.
My mother believed, but she wasn't too devoted. My father just didn't care about it.
So you came to your own realization that something wasn't quite right, and it started off by looking at the society, by looking at what was around you. You noticed from that young age, I guess, that something wasn't quite right. What about in schools and in things like that? Were you ever exposed to any sort of religion?
I never went to this subject called religious education. I was never into it because at that time I chose for myself atheism. And later on, because I always liked science, I start thinking that maybe there is a higher force that has some kind of power over the universe. And it was later on when I was 19, 20, when I faced this series called The Arrivals, made by two Muslim brothers, and this series talked a little bit about society in general.
Okay. For you to be thinking like that from a young age, relatively young age, see something which you see in the news, in the papers, in the media, and think, okay, Islam or whatever it is been portrayed in a negative light. What's the other side of the story? What's Islam's point of view? What does Islam have to say about it? I think that's really key in learning about anything. I think this is something which I think would be a pivotal point in your journey to Islam, because you wanted to see the other side of Islam. And when you searched the other side of Islam, what Islam has to say about themselves, what did you find there?
One main key was that in Islam we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has control of every little thing. nothing happens without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when I discovered this, I stopped believing in coincidences, and I started to believe that everything that happens in one's life is a sign or a lesson to be learned. And it started through there.
So you started to look at things differently, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Did that change you as a person, your behavior, what you were doing? I mean, did you study anything at this point? Were you learning anything that changed? Or what happened? What consequences did it have on your actual life? Just learning about Islam, obviously. At this point, you're just interested, aren't you? So.
Well, I was a little bit lost because in this time, my parents got divorced, and I was going through some bad a bad time in my life, because I went through some not very good companies, and I experienced a lot of stuff that probably it was to my own benefit, because there's some bad that comes out tend to be good.
Yeah, of course.
And Alhamdulillah, I passed all of this, and when I before I came to England, I actually visited the mosque in my country's capital, in Lisbon. But I had no idea that 1 year later I would be a Muslim, a proper Muslim, praying 5 times a day. And
so just going back to that point, you visited this mosque. Was there anything that you found from that visit itself, or from meeting people in that mosque? Where was this mosque exactly?
In Lisbon.
In Lisbon. For visiting the mosque in Lisbon, was there anything that you took from there? And this was before you came to England. This was while you're still in Portugal.
I visited that mosque because I started to live by myself. I got off my father's house, and I started living alone, and I felt a little bit alone. No shoulder to hang on.
Of course, we all go through something like that in our lives, but for you, something directed you towards the mosque? You went on your own accord? Somebody told you, let's go to the mosque? Or?
No, I went by myself. I just went there. It was a Friday.
Okay, good time to go.
It was a Friday. I asked the brother who was there if I could see the mosque, and he said, well, you have to be fast, because I don't know what he said after it. I said, okay. I just went in. It was around 11. I took my shoes off. I sat there just thinking and setting up my ideas straight. What am I gonna do? What do I want for my life? And after it, I just went on with my life. I never really gave a deep thought in becoming Muslim, because at that time I didn't know too much about Islam.
Okay. So you visited this mosque, but you didn't, like some people say, that there's a point where, right, this is where I wanted to accept Islam. But for you, it was more of just a visit. You wanted to contemplate, be around people. You're feeling a bit lonely, but you were in a mosque, you were in a masjid, and from there you left and you carried on with your life, trying to get back on your own feet, trying to see what you wanted to do in life. Did you at this point have do any education? Did you do any training? What is it that you wanted to kind of become or specialize in, say?
I was doing a NVQ level 5 in mechatronics, which is basically mechanics and electronics together.
Very good. So you've got some educational background in mechatronics. Was there some sort of vision that you wanted from that itself, or just you doing something for the sake of studying?
No, I wanted to be an engineer, electrotechnical engineer, but well, because some of my youth decisions wasn't so wise, I didn't make it to university. I used to play hockey as well, roller hockey, and I used to teach children how to skate. And in this time, I got a call from my sister, who was living in England a long time, and she called me to live with her.
Okay, so from Portugal, you got a phone call from your sister here, said, right, come to England. So this was your introduction to England, I guess, before you came to UK, and I believe you must have accepted this invitation in a way, and I guess that's probably what brought you here. What we'll do is, we'll stop you there, inshallah, and we'll come straight back after the break to see the second part of Brother Yusuf's story, and look at how coming to the UK led him to learn more about Islam, and we hope you can join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us for the second part of today's program with Brother Yusuf. So, we have come to the point in your life where you have been interested in Islam slightly. You are still in Portugal, but you've been invited to England by your sister, and she's asked you just to come and join her?
Yeah, because she told me that she had a job in a restaurant with her. And I had this visit from this Mormon sect at my house, and they started preaching, and they took me sometimes to their church, and while debating with them, it made me realize that I wanted to be Muslim, because one thing I remember, I said to them, well, I'm not gonna join your church, because I'm preparing myself to be Muslim. That's why I said.
So the little bit of knowledge that you had previously from Islam, slowly you built on that, and at this point you realized, well, I don't want to be here, I want to be somewhere else towards Islam. So what steps did you take towards achieving that goal, really?
Well, I started to search for a job, because I needed a job, yeah. And I got this job in a factory in Malton, and it was there where I met this Egyptian brother, and because I recognized him straight away that he was a Muslim because of his beard. And I started talking with him and talking about Islam and what's happening in the Muslim world. Do you know where is the mosque? Can you take me to the mosque? And he said, yeah, it's okay. We went to the mosque. It was a very straightforward passage, because I got to the mosque. It was you and another brother, just me, my pal from the factory, and the student in the mosque, and you.
Yeah.
And I just went there and said, I want to be Muslim. I'm convinced that it is the right decision to make.
I mean, from this point, I can maybe chip in, because that was the point where I remember sitting there, seeing you coming in with Brother Mahmoud, and saying, right, this brother wants to accept Islam. And usually when somebody says, I want to accept Islam, I tend to ask the question, well, what is it that's brought you to this place? I'm not going to say don't accept Islam, but I'm saying, are you sure you're ready? Have you read up on Islam enough? And I remember you saying, yes, I've studied and I've read it, and I think I'm ready. And you took your shahada there and then. I remember it's very quiet, very spiritual and emotional, and quite a personal thing for myself as well as yourself when you accepted Islam. But when you accepted Islam, it was around April, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
last
was
year.
28th of April.
28th of April, so it's almost coming to a year now.
Yeah.
And of course, after that, what kind of changes did you have to do? What kind of support did you get? What kind of barriers did you face? What kind of problems did you face? So you took your shahada there and then, alhamdulillah, and what happened next in your life?
Well, after I did my shahada, I felt an urge to learn to pray straight away. So I made all my efforts to learn to pray in Arabic, and to get the basic knowledge of Islam, which is wudu, praying, and some surahs. After it, I started to to spread Islam to my family.
MashaAllah.
I had it wasn't bad feedback, but it wasn't positive as well. The people were confused. My family was confused. My father was probably one of the bad feedbacks I had, because he didn't took it very how can I put it?
Very well.
Yes, because he thinks that religion is a pitiful issue. And just said to me, please cut their beard and cut their hair and get a job, that's what you need. And
so at this point, when you accepted Islam, you tried to speak to your family. They were not negative, they didn't push you away or anything like that, but at the same time they were not really accepting it, not really getting it. Did that cause barriers for you? And at the same time, what were you doing with yourself, with like your father said, you get a job, and what did you have to do then?
Well, I struggled a lot after, because in between I left the job in the factory, and I was struggling to find another job, and I used my time to search more about Islam and read some books, Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And
so that time that you had, you were just learning and improving your knowledge and learning more with Islam itself. So you perfected your salah, your prayers. What happened with your life in general? How did you feel after you accepted Islam?
Well, one of the things that money can't buy, which is peace of mind. Even though I was going through some harsh times, because no job, and for an immigrant is a little bit hard, I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried, because I had this feeling that just be patient, and keep on your track, because God will help you. And the help came. And now I'm working, alhamdulillah. I can pray the 5 daily prayers, and well, I'm trying to improve as much as I can as a Muslim.
Fantastic. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who, say yourself, who's young, mashallah, you accepted Islam coming from a position outside of Islam? What would you say to those people who maybe are born Muslim, but they're going through difficult times and their faith is being questioned, or those who are born Muslim and they tend to forget about Islam? What kind of advice would you give, coming from a background where you didn't have Islam at one point and now you're embracing it fully?
I tell you in this way, I admire the Muslims that can appreciate what they were born with, because I didn't had that quality to appreciate what I had, and I think it's harder to appreciate what we have than to deny what we know, that like what I did. And look at the signs. That's why I would say, look at the signs. Don't believe in coincidences, that things just happen randomly. And try to look around you, not to search to the neighbor's house. Look around you and appreciate what you have, even though it's little. Your bed, your roof, your clothes, because everybody knows there's people with nothing, completely nothing.
And what Islam teaches you is keep going through these struggles, keep going through these hard times, especially when you're on the path of learning Islam, or improving your knowledge of Islam. You are talking about a difficult time that you went through, where you were not working, you're probably struggling, but you use your time to improve yourself on Islam. So is this the kind of advice you would give to somebody else who's maybe struggling for a job, struggling for going through difficulties with their families, struggling to find their feet, would you say, what was the best advice you do in that time where you're struggling or you've not got much to do?
Yes, because worrying is not worth it. You don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
You don't go nowhere by worrying. You're struggling, okay, but if you worry, you're only going to make it double.
True. What about with regards to community? I mean, you're coming from the city of York, where there are not many masjids, there are not many Muslims around, there are not many Muslim faces. When you go outside, you don't see Islam like you see in London or in Bradford or in Birmingham, places like that. What kind of advice would you give to somebody, or what kind of experiences can you share with the viewers about your experience in an environment like that, where you don't find Islam everywhere? How can you stick to Islam?
Well,
let me give an example of your own locality.
It was not easy, I tell you, because I was laughed while I stopped working to go pray. But there are some very compassionate people as well, even though they are not Muslim, even though they are not religious at all. And my advice is just be genuine, be yourself, and look for what you believe, because the truth is truth, even though it's just when people believe in it. So,
and finally, what kind of support have you had from your own community in York, the Muslims in York? What kind of help and support have you had with regards to just your character building or your salah or your prayers? Has there been that support there?
All support that I needed, and even more. The community, you yourself, as a Shekh, as Imam, people have been very supportive. They try to help as much as they can. Friendly, always with the friendly word, always with the good advice, and it's the best family I could ask for.
Alhamdulillah, that's fantastic to hear. I think an inspiration for myself is the fact that coming from background like yourself, coming at the age that you are at, coming to Islam on your own, and finding Islam and looking for people around you that will improve your knowledge of Islam is something which is something not everybody has. It's very special. So I feel blessed to be in your presence, and I thank you for sharing your story with us. And I thank you, viewers, for joining us today. We hope that you will join us for another episode of My Journey Through Islam with brothers and sisters from the city of York. Thank you once again for tuning in with us. We hopefully see you soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.